Welcome back to Seven Moons Astrology. I'm Sarah Kirby, and today we are talking about what's on the horizon for February of 2022. It's a suspiciously calm looking month, and there's definitely more that meets the eye there because we've got a number of really potent conjunctions coming up, as well as several fated activations with the North Node, now in Taurus. The nodes have recently shifted into Taurus and Scorpio, and this is a huge significant energy that will color the next 18 months. So if you're curious about that, I've already got a forecast posted for the duration of that transit on my YouTube channel, so you can check that out, and I'll put the link down below. But basically, we're going to experience, a heightening of what these lessons will mean for us over the next 18 months as they get activated by some of the transits that we have going on. Of course, we've got a big full moon in Leo happening later in the month. Lots of stuff to talk about there. And I want to have a discussion with you about what I think this month in time is meant to teach us. So I'm going to walk you through some of the major transits that we're going to be experiencing and sort of what they mean. I'm going to share my screen and show you the chart. I think this is useful for people who are studying astrology to sort of see the visual of what we have explained in real time. All right, so pulling that up on the screen now, I've got the date set for February 3rd, which is when Mercury stations direct in Capricorn. No more retrograde. It's been a very interesting one because it's been dancing with Pluto in the later degrees of Capricorn. I've had a lot of technology problems come up with this one, which isn't always what I experience, but we've had a rather intense Mercury retrograde. So that period is coming to a close right as we start off the month, February 3rd. But we will have Mercury retracing its steps, still sort of in that shadow period as it gains momentum, moving direct back into Aquarius. The next day, we've actually got the Sun going to conjunct Saturn. And this is happening right in the sign of Aquarius here. And it's important because Saturn is actually the traditional ruler of Aquarius. It's the part of Aquarian energy that we typically think of as being a little bit stuck in its ways, a little bit dogmatic about its principles. We know Aquarius energy as being independent and free thinking and original and maybe a bit rebellious. But the part of this that really aligns well with Saturn as a traditional ruler is the rigidity that Aquarian energy has in taking its position and not compromising. It's a fixed sign. It's a fixed air sign. So once it has its principles, it doesn't really like to change. It is avoidant of change, definitely. And so that's where that Saturn rule comes in. When it conjuncts the Sun, that influence is important because the Sun sort of represents our egoic identity. It really is fundamentally also what our soul is striving to embody in this lifetime, but by transit, I really see the Sun as representing sort of the positionality of our ego. And this month of February is really, really a lot about our ego because of the full moon in Leo. That is the sign of the Sun. So to me, right as we kick off the month and Mercury is slow, essentially halted in the sky at this time, it's a moment in time where everything freezes and we are confronting an area in our life where we are embodying a bit more of that Aquarian rigidity. Where are we being stuck in our ways? Where are we being overly dogmatic about the way that we think the world should operate, the way that we think people should behave? All of those things come up to play in the focus of our consciousness at the start of the month. The next big thing that I want to share with you happens on the 11th. Mercury will be conjunct Pluto. This is a potent, obsessive, powerful energy at 27 degrees Capricorn. This is the duality between obsession versus passion. Because when you get a conjunction, you're getting both the positive and negative qualities of the energy. Mercury is how we think, it's how we communicate, and Pluto is this scorpionic energy of obsession, compulsion, fixation. It's a fixed emotional sign. So we've got all this heavy fixed energy where we are not wanting to let go or surrender the fears and the traumas that we hold on to. And they manifest as this angry, compulsive, obsessive, ruminating, fearful, controlling, manipulative ego. And that's what you get when Mercury and Pluto combine in a conjunction. This can be, what is the difference between being really passionate about someone or something and being obsessive? What is the difference between being truly empowered, which is the highest manifestation of Plutonic energy, Plutonian, that's Mercury retrograde. Sorry, Plutonian energy. That's the empowerment, right? That's the, I know what I can and cannot control, versus the lower manifestation is, I'm going to try to rigidly control all the outcomes. It's certainty versus uncertainty. And we can see that we've got the choice around this time to alchemize that dynamic. We've got the choice to alchemize that dynamic. This is important because a day later, and really all of this is one energy that's coming at one time, you've got Mercury and Pluto here in this tight conjunction trining the North Node. This is our first karmic activation here of the North Node in Taurus for this month. Huge, huge. Anytime the nodes are involved, it's something that is fated and out of our control. It's a circumstance that swoops in, a realization or an insight that comes out of nowhere that kind of directs our life course in a way that's designed to teach us our karmic lessons for this incarnation. And in the sign of Taurus, it's really for the next 18 months about us developing patience, persistence, and awareness in the present moment, because Taurus is about our senses. It's about being aware of and connected with all of our senses, grounded and present in the body. And that's really the positionality that's going to help us to alchemize the fear and the control issues and all of that ruminating and obsession and compulsion that we can get with that Mercury-Pluto conjunction, and alchemize it into something that's more like true empowerment and magnetism for all that we desire. So because of that trine, I really see that as being a harmonious energy. But when Pluto and the nodes are involved, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's comfortable, but this is something that's really going to work for our benefit. And I think this is a time in the month where we'll be able to get a more clear picture about our ego and our fears and our triggers and our traumas, and to make a choice that's more in alignment with what we're trying to create. Now let's fast forward to Valentine's Day on the 14th. Two things happening. Mercury moves back into Aquarius, so it's direct now. It's still retracing its steps from its retrograde motion, so things are coming together after the retrograde period. But we're still not exactly out of the woods yet, but things are beginning to feel better. On the same day, the North Node is trining Pluto now. So because everything is on that same degree, 27 Capricorn, 27 Taurus, this is really a continuation of that same energy. And now there's a ton of depth and intensity to it. There's a ton of passion. There's a ton of vigor and empowerment about the changes that we're making in our lives. This is a moment in time where we've gotten that clarity from Mercury's involvement days before, and we are ready to make the choices and surrender also. The choices we need to make, the actions we need to make in the earth world, because these are earth signs, the practical things that we need to do, and we surrender the rest. Do what you can, let go of the rest. That's what this energy is about. And that's true empowerment, right? That's what true empowerment really is. So I think that's what the middle of the month is suggesting to us here. The next day, the sun squares the North Node. Okay, because that square is building at the same time here, right? So part of this energy is our egos getting in the way. Because the square is the area where we've got a challenge, okay? And the sun represents the ego in Aquarius, where we've got Saturn, now Mercury's joined. We're thinking in more Aquarian ways. We're behaving in more Aquarian ways. The ego is manifesting more Aquarian energy. So there's something that we're being dogmatic about. It's probably connected to something that wounded us in the past. It's an area where we probably have challenges tapping into the depths of our emotions, because that's Pluto in a Capricorn. It's an area where we've got so much wounding that we don't really want to look at it. And that trine to Uranus is going to say, okay, we're awakening to the way that we need to be present in our body in order to heal these things, and that we've got to feel these things in order to alchemize these things. And the challenge, of course, that's the ego. That's going to be the ego coming up around mid-month. So what's this story building to? Well, of course, it's building towards the full moon in Leo, which happens on the 16th. Happens on the 16th. So I'm going to skip ahead another day. It's happening on the 16th. There we go. Well, this is not correct. Let me switch this by 1 hour. All right. For all intents and purposes, this is correct, right? It's going to be the full moon in Leo. The sun and the moon opposing one another. The sun in Aquarius, the moon in the opposing sign, Leo. That is a full moon, and we've got some interesting energies here. And I want to make sure I really pull up the exact chart for this for you here, because I want you to see the aspects that we've got going on. Okay, so we've got the moon in Aquarius, 27... I'm sorry, this really is a Mercury retrograde thing. When do I ever do this? We've got the moon in Leo at 27 degrees opposing the sun at 27 degrees Aquarius. It's making an exact in conjunction to Pluto at 27 degrees. And Pluto's involvement over the past several months has been really paramount and really triggering, right? Really triggering, really intense. Lots of ruminating, lots of fears, lots of what-ifing about every scenario, right? Sometimes conjuring up the worst case scenario in our head. That's what Pluto can make us do. And that in conjunction is live and well, right? And in conjunction is an area where the energies are completely different. They share nothing. Capricorn, right? That's an earth sign. It's a cardinal sign. It's that initiation energy, that problem solving energy. And the moon in Leo, that's a fire sign. That's a fixed energy. That's not cardinal, it's fixed, right? So we've got that difference here. And they share nothing in common. So there's a challenge to integrate the principles of this energy here, combined with a T-square, again, to the North Node in Taurus, another activation of these eclipse points. And T-squares are really hard, right? Squares in general are really hard. So what this full moon is going to bring up for us, and we're going to talk more about it because I'll post a video exclusively on the full moon. But to me, this is really about living in dual realities. There's an area where we're putting on a show. There's an area where we're pretending to be something to gain approval, acceptance, or validation. There's an area where we feel like we've got to act a little bit in order to get what we want. There is this dual reality on the inside that feels completely different. There's depth there. There's a hidden inner world that we want to keep secret from this outside world. And what this moon is really all about to me feels like, what are we pretending for? And at the same time, there's a need to maintain sort of a dual identity. So we'll get into that more, but this full moon is really going to be a potent one for this month. At the same time of the full moon, we've got Venus and Mars in conjunction in Capricorn, 16 degrees. You know, in these instances when Mars and Venus come together, I really do think of this as the polarity between masculine and feminine energy. Venus being what is soft and what is about receiving and what is about pleasure. And Mars being about action and willpower and force and assertiveness. Masculine versus feminine, we've got the difference in polarity that creates supercharged passion, and there's going to be some kind of conflict around this time where we're figuring out where we need to be assertive and where we need to be soft, and where we need to relax in to receptivity and the joy and pleasure in life, and where maybe a little pain and elbow grease is going to go a long way. And it's going to be about that duality. And this can sometimes, you know, it can be supercharged and amazing for passion and intimacy in relationships. And that can look two ways, right? Because the conjunction can look two ways. That can mean, you know, great times in the bedroom or big blow up fights. You know, but in the sign of Capricorn, this can also really manifest in our work lives, right? And so because I think something about this here after, you know, Venus went direct last month, we're committing to a new path with work or money or self-esteem or food and nutrition or appearance. And with that egoic full moon in Leo, I'm really seeing this being about an area where we're pretending. And because we're still pretty close to Pluto here, to me, this feels like there's a potential trigger. There's a potential eruption of passion. There is definitely the polarities between masculine and feminine will be felt at that time. Always an opportunity to alchemize, but you know, the North Node in Taurus is really the challenge here, to awaken to the way that we need to ground. We need to ground. And we need to make change slowly and persistently, not all at once, not all at once. So we're ending the month with the last important thing that I've got to share with you here, which I'll pull up, which is going to happen actually on the 28th. Whew, okay. All right, I found it. Sorry. So basically, Mars and Venus are going to continue to dance with each other within a close conjunction of about 2 degrees for a little while here. And by the 28th, at the very end of February, they'll be conjunct around 25 degrees Capricorn, trining the North Node in Taurus. So again, another activation of the North Node in Taurus, a very karmic fated month of awakening to all of the ways our ego stops us from experiencing pleasure in our daily lives, joy in our daily lives, relaxing into daily life, relaxing into the beauty and simplicity around us. Where are we not being neutral and being way too masculine or way too feminine? We're not assertive enough, we're way too assertive. And the end of the month, after that full moon, as it continues to wane and play out, really feels like coming to an understanding there about how to stay neutral and stay balanced in our energy. Pluto's right there. It's right on top of Pluto. It has to do with our traumas and our triggers and our fears that are blocking us from experiencing, you know, the bliss that we can find in the pleasures of life and connecting with people and the abundance and richness and the bounty of the earth, right? So, you know, in the collective, we could definitely see some challenges around the supply chains, the financial systems, because of how the North Node keeps getting activated. But we can also see a lot of solutions emerge as well. So, you know, this is really a story to me about overcoming the ego. It is really a story to me about kind of living in a state here where we've got a bit of a dual life going on. We've got a bit of this is my inner world, and this is the world that I present to the outsiders. And you've got to maintain that for a little bit, it seems like, for the rest of February. And that could be problematic. That could trigger you. That could give you feelings of impatience. Because we're really motivated right now with Mars and Capricorn to take a lot of action and achieve and climb our way up to success. So, you know, that's what I see ahead for us in February of 2022. I've put together an electional calendar for this coming month, which shows the best and worst energy for taking all the important actions and planning big events for the month ahead. It is an amazing way to help you manifest so that you can be aware of when you can find the most supportive energies, astrologically speaking. So if you're interested in that, you can join me on Patreon. My Astro Tribe there gets a ton of benefits, exclusive educational tutorials, as well as an electional calendar every month to support your manifestation, dreams, and goals. So check that out if you're interested. The link is down below. If you like this video, subscribe. Thank you for watching Earth Energy.